let's get to my deep dive here. I just want to touch on, since we're towards the end of the season, we have a good idea of where the quarterback position has shaken out for a number of franchises. So we're going to get to a little quarterback musical chairs for the offseason, as always happens, because I right now have pegged 7 teams. Like there are 7 teams that are in the quarterback market in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And you can debate how needy each one is, but for certain, the Jets, Raiders, Steelers, Browns, Giants. There's 5 teams that 100,000%.
200,000.
They will be needing a quarterback.
They're shopping.
Titans, Saints, they're on the fence right now. Obviously, Derek Carr is going to be on a contract, but he just had an injury this past week.
It's time for them to clear house over
It's
there.
very much time for them to look elsewhere at the position. And then the Tennessee Titans, you've had this sort of really up and down play from Will Levis. He plays a style of football that's conducive to injury, and lo and behold, he keeps getting injured.
He plays varsity blues quarterback. He's always going to end up injured.
So there are your teams that for certain need one. Truthfully, that's a fairly low number, I think, by NFL standards heading into an offseason. But also there's a fairly low number of guys to fill those voids. That
is true.
2 quarterbacks in the draft. We keep saying that: Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders. After that, I doubt there's going to be anyone that anyone's going to covet at a franchise quarterback level.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, some games to be played yet, but I think that's it. 3 quarterbacks I think that have played well enough that are heading into free agency that likely get looks: Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, Jameis Winston.
Yep.
But then after that, so that's 5 with 7 teams. We have 2 extra spots. After that, it gets hairy. You could I have 2 other groups here. We have former first rounders that you could rehab.
Justin Fields,
Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, who's New York Jets.
Mac Jones, Zach Wilson. I forgot about those
New York
guys.
Jets final season looks a lot better in retrospect.
Oh, no question.
And he's gone
to be praying for Zach Wilson right now.
He's gone to a quarterback whisperer in Sean Payton. So
he has been hiding in there.
He may be the Sam Darnold flavor du jour. And then you have Trey Lance, who, if he can't start with Cooper Rush right now, may not be getting that sort of look. But those are your first-round rehabs. Then you have your veteran quarterback basically forfeiting a season starters: Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, Jacoby Brissett, Jimmy G. And then you have the enigma is in his own tier of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So
I was wondering where you're going to put him.
He's in his own tier. He's none of those tiers at this point, and that's how he wants it to be.
Yeah.
So of those 7, again, Jets, Raiders, Steelers, Browns, Giants, Titans, Saints, I think we can safely say that, or just predict, Steelers goes Russell Wilson. I think
they resign him.
They will do what they can to keep Russell Wilson after what he's done.
Keep the train moving.
And with what they did, having to go to Kenny Pickett after Ben Roethlisberger, they don't want to go through any of that.
They still might
anytime soon.
Sam Darnold locking in?
I don't think so.
That's the question mark. Because if Sam Darnold's not, then also I don't know where he would necessarily go. But at this point,
back to the Jets,
Niners. No, well, Brock's going to make.
Brock's going to be there.
So Darnold, Winston. Do we think Winston stays with Cleveland?
I think he stays there too.
I think they've spent so much money on that quarterback position. They got to just ride out the deal.
That they'll just.
No, I think they're going to eat that money this year. There's
so you
no
think
way.
Jameis Winston's the starting quarterback week 1?
I think it's an open competition in training camp. There's no way you can go into training camp and look every other player in their face and say we're legitimately trying to win.
They have to get
and not make it an open.
If you're not taking yourself seriously in your own building, then you're going to have problems. There's going to be people asking questions about the quarterback position. But if
guys
you see that it's 50-50 split in training camp, Jameis is balling. Okay, we're on the right path here.
Correct.
We can strike out Raiders, Giants. Right now, they're 1-2.
They're going to take the 2 quarterbacks.
Shadur's going to be a Raider.
Steelers 2 and call them Russell Wilson.
Okay,
so that leaves us Jets, Browns,
Titans,
Saints, Titans.
It all depends on who the coach is in New York next year.
Okay,
for the Jets. Because I could see Zach Wilson going back to New York.
No, there's no way he's going back to New York. I mean, the Sam Darnold one is intriguing, right? Because they drafted J.J. McCarthy, but it's just like, is this going to be a Paxton Lynch situation where he just has to stay on the bench because you resign? And the thing is, do they have the money allotted to sign Sam? Because he's going to probably be the highest free agent. Out of everybody, not just quarterback, every position because of how he's played. So maybe a team like the Browns does maybe try to, I guess a lot of money. Maybe the Saints try to, you just never know. The Titans could potentially throw some money at him.
When things are right around Derek Carr, I like Derek Carr. when things are right around Derek Carr, but it has to be.
I'm a big fan of Derek Carr, but
I
think the ceiling is what it is at this point in his career.
He's dealt with a lot of injuries this year. To your point, I mean, are you going to be able to invest in a guy who you don't know if he's going to be out there for 50% of the games?
I mean, you're a franchise quarterback. You got to be smart. Like, I'm all about the competitive nature.
Yeah.
But if you're not in that lineup, you guys most likely aren't going to win the game.
Yeah.
Like, you have to protect yourself. Again, I love his competitive nature, but diving head first, 5 feet in the air is just not conducive to a safe play for a quarterback that you need to be out there to get the reps with the offense.
So Carr's cap numbers. $51 million.
This is what happens when you keep kicking the can down the road.
51 mil.
61.5 the year after that. If they were to cut him,
I was going to say, what's
June 1, they could get $30 million in cap relief next year. Obviously, then that would spill some of that cap hit into 2026.
Correct.
But
so they can split that up. That's only about $10 million a year.
Don't tell Mark Gastineau how much this guy's making.
And you've already kind of cut bait with Marshawn Lattimore. If you're already willing to move
just
on,
clear the house, man.
I think it's time to just say, Carr, you had your chance to turn things around. It didn't work out. I think you got to clear as much space as humanly possible next year.
Do you think the Steelers just keep the same quarterback room?
That's a possibility.
And re-sign Fields.
Yeah.
I think Fields wants to start.
I was going to say, if I'm Fields, I'm going somewhere where I can actually compete to start, though.
I think of that tier, he's the most likely of that rehab round one. He's the most likely to earn a job from that tier. Like,
he's intriguing because if the Jets don't end up getting a top 2 pick, right? Which means, and me and Mike have put this out there that we think Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are the only true first-round picks in this quarterback class. Justin Fields is intriguing to the Jets, depending on who the offensive coordinator is.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's the big question.
Yeah, well, it depends. Like, so new GM, new coach comes in. I would assume at this point, I know Aaron has said he would potentially like to come back. I don't think he'll be there next year.
Yeah.
Tyrod's under contract for another year. I could see this being a scenario where they take a Justin Fields, bring him in free agency, compete with Tyrod as the bridge quarterbacks, and still potentially draft somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round, right? As a guy that maybe you can develop for a year or two and make him the starter. So I think Justin Fields to the Jets is very intriguing this offseason.
Is Darnold, put your little
GM
projection hat on here, is Darnold going to be a Viking next year? And if he's not,
midway through the season, I would have said no. At this point, you've lost 2 games with him.
Yeah.
And you're winning because of him now.
Yeah. It's like, sure, JJ McCarthy might be awesome, and that would be a great problem to have.
Correct.
But if he's only going to cost you, because he's not going to break the bank, right? It's not
like Baker Mayfield type deal.
Yeah. If he's only going to cost you $35 million a year, and it's going to be probably one of those backloaded-ish contracts in that, I think you got to do it. It's like, why are you passing up?
Let's say they don't
11-2 for the opportunity that JJ McCarthy might be the guy.
Let's say the number's too big.
Better run with a cheaper roster. You can make a bigger run if JJ McCarthy really hits big. And they'll obviously be the best team to know that in terms of they've seen them, they know the quarterbacks. But I don't see why you wouldn't want that, even if it's just for like a backup guy on the roster in case JJ McCarthy gets hurt or something like that.
Because if they go in a different direction with Sam Darnold, it obviously helps their checkbook a good amount. They get their guy on the rookie deal to be the starter. If I'm Justin Fields and I know that I can play till I'm 35, well, why wouldn't you go to a place like Minnesota and sign up to be a backup for a year and go to that college of football for a little bit under Kevin O'Connell's tutelage? I don't know.
To me, the most intriguing spot for Fields is the Saints, if the Saints do cut Derek Carr, because of the talent they have there.
What they're built to do,
kind of that offense, what they're built to do, whether it's Taysom Hill, who's an awesome, whatever he
Weapon
is.
X,
and then you have vertical threats, which like Justin Fields,
they can stay healthy.
He can throw down the football. Yeah. But even if their Mason Tipton is like a vertical,
correct.
Every single guy there is just like a
Jawan Johnson can stretch down the seam.
So it is just like a vertically based offense.
Yeah.
Regardless of who's your OC, because that's the talent you have.
Heavy runs, vertical passes.
That's Justin Fields. Yeah. So I think if there anywhere would rehab his stock, that would probably be the best spot for
I think Rizzi gets a real opportunity to be the head coach.
Oh, he's been great. I mean, he did explode on the sideline the other day. That was fun.
I mean, they played really well since he's taken over as head coach.
Yeah. And not only that, we've seen some of these interim head coaches have lackluster performances in the room that they were in. So like Ulbrich, his defense kind of fell apart. Saleh and his defense fell apart.
I'm so glad you brought that.
But Rizzi, his special teams unit has won them some football games.
Yeah.
Like just last week, we saw a blocked field goal against the New York Giants to put them out of their misery. And that's awesome to see that a group is fighting for their coach, particularly the unit that he came from, that special teams unit. So to your point, I mean, I could see it happening. They're going to have to make a lot more changes than just the coach in the New Orleans Saints organization.
I know we got to move on to our mailbag, but I had this conversation the other day. I'm so glad you brought up Jeff Ulbrich, because for the life of me, I don't understand when owners decide to relieve the current head coach of his duties. Why do they pick a coordinator to be the head coach? Because when you look at it, and if you look at even the history of teams that have been able to turn things around, let's just go back to last year. Antonio Pierce, he was the linebackers coach, right? When you're a position coach, like you can still be the head coach and the position coach, because like when you're just focused on one position and not the whole defense, it's not as much on your plate. But when you're the coordinator to a whole side of the football, and again, I get it with Rizzi, you got to think for special teams, you're probably up every 4 plays, maybe 6 plays, maybe 8 plays. But when you're on offense and defense, there's like 8 to 10 plays you got to go straight through. And then as a head coach, if you're that coordinator and the head coach, now you got to pay attention to the other side of the ball. So when you need to be making adjustments and changes, it's hard to do that. Where when you're Rizzi, for the special teams play, like there could be like 6 or 7 plays in between. So you can do your adjustments real quick and then get back to special teams. But like when you're Jeff Ulbrich and you're one of the better coaches on the staff and you're just locked into the defense, and now there's more responsibility on your plate, it affects what the defense does. Thomas Brown, the same thing. I mean, this man went from running back to offensive coordinator. The offense started looking good. All right, let's throw some more on this play by making him the head coach. What happened to the offense? It fell apart.
I don't want to talk about
it's because I've never understood why you would make a coordinator your head coach. Now, again, yes, this probably could be a good opportunity, but you're literally putting them up against the 8 ball by doing this, because it's not going to show them in the best light, because they're so focused on one side of the ball that now you're taking so much responsibility and dumping it on their lap that it affects that side of the ball that they're coaching.
So special teams coordinators are the perfect coordinator to be the interim head coach, because you know what's unique about the special teams meeting, Mike?
With everybody.
It's
with everybody.
It's offense, it's defense, it's big guys, it's little guys. The special teams meeting is a de facto team meeting.
It really is.
So a guy like Riz has the pulse of the entire team. He has that connection with these guys. To your point, like when we saw Chris Tabor become the guy in Carolina, I was like, I could see this working out, because he deals with every single one of these guys. And he doesn't have a ton on his plate.